What if the future of science didn't just happen in labs and institutions, but in a global network of people contributing their data, testing interventions, and accelerating discoveries in real time? That's the vision behind decentralized science, and it's starting to reshape how we study aging. Hey everyone, welcome back to Decoding Longevity. I'm your host, Raghav Sehgal, joined as always with my co host, Macsue Jacques.
Hi, everyone. In our last episode, we sat down with Professor Brian Kennedy to explore how epigenetic clocks can measure biological age, but also help to test anti aging interventions. Today, we're pushing that conversation a little bit further into how companies like Rejuve.AI are using decentralized science, AI, and innovative trial designs to make personalized longevity research a reality. And to guide us through this new frontier, we're thrilled to have Jasmine Smith, the CEO and co-founder of Rejuve.AI, with us on the podcast. Jasmine, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
So, to start off, Jasmine, can you give our listeners a big picture view? What is Rejuve.AI and what problems are you trying to solve in longevity?
Yes, as you kind of introed, Rejuve.AI is what we call a decentralized longevity research network. And what that pretty much means is kind of making the lab, kind of the real world, and having individuals track their personal health data, get valuable AI-driven insights and recommendations, earn rewards for it, and then be directed to the right place that they want and need to go in order to continue to further their longevity journey, so that it becomes a positive feedback loop of them getting more tests, refining their protocols, sending us back the data, and then helping refine it for more people around the world.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. And I guess when we talk about decentralized, a lot of people that, for example, are not from the crypto space, because I think it's like really common in the crypto area. They haven't heard of it and being a decentralized trial. So it's really cool that it's coming into other areas of research, for example. So how do you see Rejuve fitting into the broader landscape of longevity, biotech, and AI? And what makes this approach a little bit distinct? And maybe explain, how do you see the decentralized part in the aging research itself?
Yes, as you mentioned, this kind of like putting the D prefix in front of things is usually, some kind of crypto or blockchain thing. It is indeed in our case as well. It started with kind of like the DeFi, which is like decentralized finance, putting that more into people's hands, and, decentralized AI, making sure that AI itself is not developed by, just these mega conglomerates, but, is kind of contributed by everybody. And in the same frame, it's so that individuals and even individual researchers as well all over the world can kind of liberate from the siloing and kind of the legacy systems, and be able to do things in a better way, in a more transparent and collaborative way, and integrating these blockchain technologies for easier sharing of data, for kind of proof of provenance of the data, and also being able to reward individuals for their actual contributions in their IP. So that's kind of the baseline interview. And then so where Rejuve kind of fits in there is that right now there's tons of biohackers and people, kind of trying all these different supplement stacks and new interventions, whether it's red light therapies or sauna cold plunges, all these different things, but they're not actually holistically tracking this anywhere. There's an increase of people using smartwatches and rings and devices like that, and those are really cool and can give you a little bit of insights, but then if you're not kind of connecting everything that you're doing into a central location, then you're kind of missing out on what's actually working and what's not. And what happens is that we see all of these kind of like hype and fads and, things coming up with influencers and everything. Oh, you should take this and you should do this. You should get on this kind of diet or that one. But the reality is that everybody is a little bit different, and we're at different stages of our health and life. And in order to kind of refine on what is best for you, you do have to measure what's actually happening to you. And then as in more people begin to measure that, we can scale those insights to broader ranges, so that when you put in, a segment of your data, we can say already kind of put you into this range of, okay, this kind of thing might work for you. And then you can start trying that, and then just keep on refining and refining until, you're kind of at this place of optimization, because that's really the goal here, is optimizing health. It's not just to, go into the doctor and say, oh, your labs are normal and see you when you're sick, kind of a thing, but how do I be at my peak health for today? And I think that's really what our platform is aiming to leverage, is how to optimize your health to the greatest degree, while we continue to learn more about aging biology to scale to things that can actually break the known or supposed limits on human lifespan in general.
Well, that's amazing, Jasmine. One thing you sort of have repeatedly said that you want to structure Rejuve as decentralized science, right? But it's an interesting space because at some level, there are so many different regulations around health data, with HIPAA and sort of EU having its own sort of regularizations there. What does decentralized science in this context really mean for you? And with all of these sort of large cohort studies that are kind of out there, why do you think we need specifically sort of this decentralized ecosystem for longevity research?
Yeah, so it's really about kind of a consumer or user empowerment, whichever kind of word, or even some people say patient. I usually avoid that one because it sounds like there's something wrong with you, right? But yeah, it's about education and knowing actually what's happening instead of it just kind of being this offloaded thing like, okay, there's me and then there's my health. It's like it's part of you and who you are, and being able to have more ownership and say so over that data and how it's used, and being more interconnected with it, both in like a physical, tangible way, as I mentioned, of earning crypto rewards for contributing data to models that are going to better humanity and understanding of aging, but then also for their own personal benefit as well. And when it comes to kind of the regulatory scene, that kind of improves it because now this person is volunteering and consenting, and we can prove that consent on chain as well for their data to be used for XYZ purposes, and then we can track where it actually went and whether or not we actually held true to that promise of using it in that fashion. And yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's really what it comes down to, is that the individual empowerment.
Yeah, I guess it goes beyond the traditional research where we rely on usually in central institutions to have the data or do the interventions, and it takes a while to convert that into research reports and publications and things like that. So it goes almost like a quicker way to feedback what people are doing. So how does this DeSci shift this sort of like models in a holistic way, and what role do you think the community or the citizens and the scientists even may play in all of this sort of like structure?
Yeah, I mean, I think I guess you're kind of touching on how like the kind of slowness of the insights and feedback. So this is kind of like you're testing things against yourself at first, and then you can aggregate the insights in kind of a broader context. So we can incentivize the provision of certain profiles of data that maybe we're more interested in. I can say within Rejuve, we're working on some proxies for specific biomarkers to be able to kind of already assess where somebody may be before they provide us with blood test data based on some other easier to provide data types. And then this can lead to them actually kind of being nudged to go and get those measured and see, is this correct, and improves our models, and then also improves their understanding of their own health and what they may want to do to kind of shift themselves out of danger zones. So yeah, it's really fueling preventative health, I think, in the most cases, and that's kind of become a big topic now in the overall medical spaces. Prevention is better than cure, kind of a thing.
So, Rejuve recently announced that it received an IRB approval. For listeners who might not be familiar with this, what does this milestone mean and why is it so critical?
Yeah, so IRB stands for Independent Review Board or Institutional Review Board, and it's pretty much an ethical committee kind of a thing that kind of, when you're doing any human research, subject research, that you kind of can present this protocol and say, yes, this is ethical, and we're kind of meeting all of these standards. The one that we were reviewed by is called Brainy IRB, based in New York, and it was a pretty intricate process, and they were very particular about the consent form, and that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about this movement about choosing what you really want to share and what you really want your data to be used for, and having that full understanding of what's actually happening instead of it just being some layer of abstraction above you where you don't really know what's going on and you're just seeing numbers on this paper like, oh, what is this word, and everything like that. So yeah, this review shows that this protocol of building an international longevity research database, that's like an important part that I kind of didn't mention in the intro. That's really the driver of our insights generation and our models. We're building something, I call it the IRLDB, the in real life database, of the International Longevity Research Database. And it pretty much means that people from all over the world are contributing their data. So it's building something that's a bit new from the common data sets that everybody's using, like UK Biobank and NHANES and Framingham, and just the same kind of like US and UK populations. We're aiming to build up more data on more diverse populations, and this is kind of the first step in being able to do that and just have more of that trust. And the part that I'm most excited about it too is that we can interlink more of these longevity clinics that are coming about. There's a lot more of these opening more and more every year. There's directories forming. There's even longevity medicine certifications beginning to come online. And the vision there is being able to direct people to a place in their area or region where they can actually go to get these tests and any type of other treatments that they may desire, and then feed the data back in and be able to connect all of those insights together to improve that clinical space in general and kind of scale everyone up such that someone can go into the app and even get a virtual consultation on their data. So it's not just relying on just the AI, but actually some actual clinicians in the background as well. And with the goal of, as we begin to publish more findings and certainty around these so-called longevity protocols, that longevity no longer becomes this niche thing that's only for the wealthy elites or something that's outside of just normal healthcare, but that it becomes part of basic healthcare and part of a first line approach instead of a fifth.
Yeah, that is really interesting. So I guess like having this regulatory level with the IRB actually unlocks Rejuve to really show that we're seeking robust approaches and ethical approaches is not just another database. So I guess, how do you think this data, given that it's going to be open for all people and all over the place, all over the different countries, when you're going to have different ethnic backgrounds and you're going to have contributions that currently in the longevity field we really don't have. How do you see this then being shared, let's say, with the scientific community? Do you actually have any planning on sharing this data with other researchers, and how do you see this data being validated with new technologies?
Yes, I guess then we can come back to kind of the blockchain piece of it. We have an innovation called a data NFT, and it's pretty much using these non-fungible tokens, which are different from your typical crypto tokens that are being traded on the market in exchange, kind of the trading volume thing. But this is more of a digital identity and a permission gateway for sharing of data and tracking its usage. So each user, when they formally join our International Longevity Research Database observational study, will receive one of these tokens. And from this kind of dashboard, they would be able to elect which entities they would like to share their data with as we begin to grow it in size. Of course, there will be some rewards and incentives and descriptions of who the entities are that are requesting it and why, and ample information. We'll probably also have kind of a universal setting too, because a lot of people actually are really open to sharing and contributing to science, especially people that are kind of in this biohacking space. So they might set, hey, I want to share with anybody who wants to, or maybe there's others that are a bit more want to read up a little bit on who these people actually are. Maybe they care about some causes more than others. Maybe they don't like big pharma and don't want to share with them or something like that. And then they can elect, okay, yes, but essentially that's the way that I'm envisioning it now. And what we're preparing to design in our mobile app is that kind of dashboard where you can elect, to participate in some initiatives that are coming on board.
Now, one of the really exciting aspects of your work is sort of N-of-1 trials. Can you explain what these are and how they differ from traditional randomized controlled trials?
Yeah, this is definitely probably the most exciting part of it, which I touched on it a little bit, but kind of the randomized controlled trials is usually everybody's kind of in the same place, and you have these controls, and you have this certain period, and everybody's kind of aligned doing the same thing. An N-of-1 trial is when you're basically testing against yourself, so you kind of measure your baselines at the beginning, and then you select one or more interventions that you're going to test out, and with the certain period of time that you're going to do it. And then you measure afterwards. A lot of times it's common to have like a washout period as well, where you kind of stop doing it so you can kind of reconfirm that baseline. But I think in any case, it's still valuable to be tracking what's actually happening at these physiological level when you're trying different diets, different exercise routines, different supplements. But the thing is, people are still doing it. And so there's no point in us, just losing all of this valuable data, because if someone is going to do something, they may as well be measuring what's actually happening so that they have some concrete data behind it. And there's been this historical problem, for a long, long time, especially with supplements, is that we can't really, prove that they're actually effective against some kind of disease or indication. They can't be prescribed, as a drug. Because, well, one, because it's been classified as food, but then two, because there isn't enough data behind it to support it. But now we're in this era where that's no longer an excuse. We can can just do it. Yeah, it's a little bit of work to set up, all of these pipelines, and that's what, we're working on, but it's totally possible. So it's no longer this impossibility or this thing that we can no longer cross to actually get the data on these new emerging things. And I mean, of course, there's a lot more different things coming along the pipeline as well that we also want to be able to measure really early.
Yeah, I guess this is super exciting because it sort of like goes beyond the traditional way where we're getting a lot of the cross-sectional data and then we kind of squeezing everybody against the mean. Well, as you mentioned briefly, people are different and they do respond differently. So what works for you might not work for me. And if you're not measuring against yourself, you're really not going to know for sure that this treatment or this supplement is whatever it is that you're doing is actually working. So
Yeah, and it's like
it is really...
I was going to just mention too, like the anecdotal aspect, like that's another part of it. They would say, oh, well, that's, you can't really say that. Somebody can say, oh, this changed my life and everything, but then the person next to them, it might actually harm them. Sometimes it can even be almost kill them kind of a thing, but then that doesn't mean that first person lied. So that's like one of those things,
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really exciting that we're like, moving more towards this personalized and I guess like eliminating these inter-individual variabilities. So in your view, how do you think these N-of-1 trials can accelerate discovery in aging and health span? And there are particular interventions that you feel most excited to test first? Is there anything that you have like, okay, if I can test this one first in the app, this is what we're going to do?
Well, I guess there's your really popular ones, and I think that when it comes to kind of trying to elevate your NAD levels and all that kind of thing, I think a big question in that is the bioavailability and the actual quality of it. That probably does matter a lot. Combinations of things. We always hear about the people that are taking 50 pills a day, and it's like, do you really need that many, or maybe you only need about 5 of them, and the rest of them are just a waste of money or like counteracting each other. So I think discovering what those optimal potentiations of different molecules together is something pretty exciting. And then, as I mentioned, there's things like the rapamycin, the metformin, even the GLP-1s now. I've heard of people even kind of microdosing other types of drugs for 30 plus years and saying, oh, look, I have really great results with this. And so being able to actually have those people track that in a more meaningful way and get more data behind it. Another area is indigenous medicine. There's places. I was just in South Africa for the International Longevity Summit, and that was a really big topic there of how the traditional medicine they've been using it probably hundreds and thousands of years, but we don't actually have the concrete evidence to say this is what it does. It's just, okay, you're sick with this, we're going to give you this concoction, and they say they're better. We're kind of in this world now where we kind of need to have that hard evidence and data, and it's not just about hearsay. And that doesn't mean that there's not a plethora of potential in scaling the efficacy of these unknown and unstudied molecules. Same thing in Australia as well. I live in the Northern Territory, and there's also a lot of indigenous or bush medicine, as they call it, that's completely unstudied. And then I guess the other part of it is maybe some of you have heard of what's going on in Roatan in Honduras, in a place called Prospero. I guess most recently it was one of the Kardashians and Brian Johnson and such people are going there for these new longevity-focused gene therapies. And that's kind of coming back to the regulation point. This is a special economic zone, so they have a little bit more regulatory freedom there for people to, kind of experiment on their bodies in ways maybe they couldn't do in their home countries. And if we can really tap into places like that to be able to get that data as well, seeing whether or not these, muscle building therapies and like growing new capillaries and, how much that actually affects their long-term aging trajectory and also the more shorter term health span as well. So I think those are kind of like the big three, is seeing how these different supplement molecules are acting together and building profiles on these combinations, indigenous and traditional medicines, and then the cutting edge stuff that's coming along.
So, zooming out a bit, where do you see sort of Rejuve in the next 5 to 10 years? What's your ultimate vision for how the platform and the community would look like?
That's a good question. Essentially, it should be, I guess, kind of this, what do people call it, like digital twin or, the doctor in your pocket kind of a thing. But it's not that we're completely abstracting the desire of people to actually talk to real people. So Of course, as the AI continue to get better and better and stronger, it is going to eliminate a lot of the kind of guesswork, and that's really the goal. Is that you can put in all of these facts and kind of get this analysis, and at this point in time, these things are not super expensive. So you go to this one place, get all of your biomarkers tested. Here's your optimal longevity protocol. Be incentivized to actually stick to it. You're continuously earning rewards and milestones and badges and all of these cool gamification things in order to keep yourself on track, and kind of being able to consistently demonstrate that this actually is working. And then as these kind of newer cutting edge therapies are online, and the early adopters are testing it and making it scalable for those who are coming on later and want a little bit more information behind it before they dive in. And then we begin to see kind of those signals of true rejuvenation. And I guess later on down the line, as we be able to prove these protocols are actually truly reversing aging and not just kind of slowing it, we can begin to conduct more trials in older populations. So people that are, let's say, over 75. And this will really tell us whether or not it's doing that, because you can see a more dramatic effect in someone who's like 80, whether or not their aging is reversed versus somebody who's 35. So that's really the grand vision here, is that we can get enough insights and true evidence that something is actually moving the needle in a way that it never has before, while at the same time individuals are able to see their health in real time and have that responsiveness to already kind of learn from this greater body of knowledge what's going to work for them to a very high level of certainty, eliminating the guesswork and the wasting of money and potential physical harm.
That is really exciting. So I guess for the listeners, and if they are inspired, or how can they get involved with Rejuve? So as either as contributors or just wanting to track themselves or just curious, is there there's an app? So
so it's already on the App Store. It's called Rejuve Longevity. We have this nice, cute little tree logo, so you can identify it. We actually have an update, coming out within a few days. That's kind of improving the insights and UX experience, and we're continuously improving it and adding on more types of data to be able to track, so that it can really be this holistic platform. We also have our community ambassador program with several different prongs to it. We have a clinicians advisory group. We have kind of influencers. So if you're a person that is really popular on social media, or you like that kind of a thing, you can get involved in that way. But we're starting our community beta testers program pretty soon, so that people can have a small group of people have earliest access to all of our new features and be able to give their feedback and help to. There's a whole bunch of other initiatives there too. So those are kind of the two main ways right now, is downloading the app and beginning to use it, and then joining our kind of community ambassador program.
That's amazing, Jasmine. Oh, thank you so much for sharing all your insights today. It's really amazing to see that a company is not just innovating with AI, but also attempting to sort of change how science can be done itself. Quite great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess for our listeners, we're going to put the links for some of the things that Jasmine has mentioned. And then if you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe, share, and to join us next time as we continue to uncover more things around longevity.